So what I'm going to do, folks, is I'm going to take you into the 3D printer room. That sounds really grand. This is my studio, if you like. This is a spare bedroom in my house. I'm very, very fortunate that this spare bedroom has an ensuite in there as well, an ensuite shower room. So there's a shower, a toilet, and a sink in there. It never, ever gets used. Basically, I'm fortunate that there's a bathroom just outside this door and stuff. It never gets used. I don't even think the shower's been used since we moved into this house. The sink's really handy because when I'm using my airbrush and stuff, I can go and use the sink. So what I decided to do was, for a few reasons, I've put a shelf, like as a desktop, if you like, inside that room over the top of the toilet. I'll show you all this stuff anyway. And the reason for that is it means that it's a self-contained 3D printing room. Space is really tight in here, and I need to kind of make the most of what space I've got available, so I'll show you that in there. It also means I can close the door when things are printing, so any noise when I'm recording stuff and that, there's none of that to worry about. And it also, because there's extraction in the bathroom, it means it kind of takes away any resin smells and stuff, and we'll come on and talk about resin smells. So I'm yes, it's not, it kind of is ideal, but it doesn't sound it when I say it's in a shower room there. But what we'll do is I'll switch across to the other camera. I'll quickly run over there and I'll take you through what we've got. How professional is that? Let me just make sure my chat's working here. Yes. So while we're talking here, it might be a little bit echoey. Just let me know, give me the thumbs up, folks, if the sound's okay, because I can't see the screen from back over there. So let me know that's okay. It's a little bit echoey in here because obviously there's no soft furnishings and stuff. It is a shower room. Lee Russ says this is like MTV Cribs, except less flash. So yeah, everybody's saying it's in. Dave said it's a little quiet. I kind of mess about with the sound now, mate, but I think it's just there. I'll get a bit closer to the microphone. So let me just put this down a second. So what we've got in here, folks, is let me just this is what I've got here. So as promised, there's the shelf that I built, kind of like a frame over the top of the toilet. There's a radiator here as well, which is great for kind of making sure that there's the temperature's pretty consistent in here. And then I've got this is basically just a nice wood frame, a bit of MDF as a desktop, and then I bought some like sticky back plastic just to kind of cover it so it's easily cleanable. I sealed the MDF. Then it means if any resin or anything gets spilled on there, it's much easier to clean up rather than kind of worrying about like MDF tops and things like that. And I used that because I had all of that just kind of lying in the garage, so it cost me nothing to do that. Down here as well, I'm using underneath here for some storage, and I've also got down here, you can see as well, I've got a bin here with a bin bag in as well. So it means that everything's in here, like, sort of at hand to be used. So what did I buy? I bought an Elegoo Mars 2 Pro. When we get back to the main table and stuff, I'll explain exactly why I chose that one over the other ones that are available. I also bought the Elegoo Mercury Plus, which is the wash and cure station. So what it does is you can wash your prints in here. So for those that don't know, once you've printed the resin, it needs to be cleaned. You need to clean off the wet resin from the outside. So you need to put it into this and clean it. And then also with resin prints, you need to expose them to UV light to harden them, to cure the resin. So that machine actually also does that as well. And I might be able to show you kind of like a little bit of a thing on that one. What else did I buy? Because one thing that you have to realize is when you get into 3D printing, it's not just a case of, oh, printers are pretty cheap, I'll get one of those. There's a number of different things that you have to have as well. So what else did I get? I got some resin, and the idea of having these shelves up here as well is it just means I've got a little one in the house. It means anything of any kind of like nastiness or anything like that is kind of out of reach for him. So I bought some of this ABS-like photopolymer resin, the grey one. I like the prints being in grey. I think they always look a little bit easier to see once they've been done. And then I also bought, you'll see up the top there, is that I bought 5 litres of isopropyl alcohol IPA, and it's IPA that you use to clean the resin. You put it inside the cure station as well, inside the wash station, to be able to clean the prints off. What else do you need to buy? You also need to buy gloves. Now, you you will never understand just how many disposable gloves you will go through. You need to buy decent ones as well. These are nitrile gloves because they don't react to any kind of chemicals or anything like that. Resin is not nice stuff. You do not want to get it on your skin. So you will be constantly putting gloves on to do jobs, taking gloves off to do jobs, putting gloves on to do jobs and stuff. So don't underestimate just how many of these that you'll need to buy as well. So I also bought some microfiber cloths. So microfiber because it doesn't scratch. Kitchen towel you can use as well, but like kitchen towel paper is actually quite abrasive. So you don't want to be cleaning things like the FEP bath inside the printer and stuff with them. Microfiber cloths, what I've done is I've kind of separated them up, because what I've got in this system here is I've set it up so I've got like a contaminated side. So anything on this side has potentially got resin on it or remains of resin on it, and I should always be handling stuff here with gloves. And then what I've got on this side is I've got a clean side, so anything over here is kind of set up so that I know when I take my gloves off I'm not going to get anything on my skin. So this is the clean one that I use. I just keep that one up there out of the way, and then I've got a one here that I shouldn't be touching, but I do know everything's clean here at the moment. What else did I buy? I already had safety specs. I'm not going to put them on. These are the ones I used to use when I went to play airsoft. In fact, I will put them on. You can see them. You only get one pair of eyes. People might say, oh, it's not that bad, it's not that dangerous. Fine, if you want to take the risk, take the risk. For me, for the sake of putting these on while I'm pouring resin or while I'm kind of washing anything down, I'd much rather it got on the front of the glasses than it got in my eyes. So safety specs, I would say, are a must as well. I also bought a funnel. This is a silicone funnel. So basically what happens is once you've finished printing, you will want to put any resin that is still in the bath back into the bottle. So a funnel, this one is just a collapsible one. So it just kind of folds out like that. And then you also you get some of these with the printer, but you'll need to buy more as well. These are filter papers, like for paint strainers and stuff like that. You basically pop that inside, pour your resin in here, back into the bottle, and then that way you can kind of maximise the usage of your resin as well, and there's no wastage. So I also bought, because I wasn't sure how many filters you got, I bought some extra filters as well. What else did I get? You got a couple of face masks with the printer as well. So these are kind of just to kind of sort of filter any kind of bits of fumes or whatever. If you want to if you find the fumes are bad, you might want to get like a respirator mask. It depends where you're working. If you're working in an area with some kind of ventilation, it's not too bad. Before I crack on, I'm just going to double check on the chat here. Andrew says you shouldn't store dangerous chemicals above you. Well, I'd much rather they were above me, mate, than in touch and range for my little ones. So yeah, I'll take that risk. Christian saying, make sure you hold that funnel when you're filtering. I spilled resin all over my desk because the funnel collapsed. Yeah, I did, mate. I did notice that one yesterday. I kind of I made sure I was holding it. So what else do you need as well? Let's come down to here, because there's a few other bits and pieces. Some of this you get with the kit, some of it I bought myself as well. So if we come down here, you get this scraper. Now this scraper is to take the prints off the print bed when they're finished. Do not under any circumstances use this to clean out the resin tray, or you will puncture through the bottom of the FEP plate. You get a plastic scraper as well. This is the one that you want to use to just kind of to move the resin along the bottom of the bath. You'll see in here when I take the lid off, there's a bath in there with some resin in, so I can show you what that is. You also get like a little bracket. This bracket allows you to, in fact, I'll show you what this does. So once you take the lid off this is all clean, so I'm okay with this at the minute because it was all clean when I took it out. Once you've printed and your little resin print is hanging out on the upside down of that, if you put this bracket on here and then you put this onto here, what that does is it allows all of the resin that's on the plate to just drain back into the tub there. So it just means that you're not losing any resin. You can get the most out of it as well. So let me just take it off. You can see there in the bottom as well, this is the actual resin bath as well. I've got some resin in there. I finished the print this morning, and I do sort of plan on doing another print sort of before I head off to bed tonight. So yeah, I've just left that in there. If you're not gonna, I'll just put that back. If you're gonna not use the printer for probably 48 hours, I would suggest taking the resin back out of the bath. I'm going to switch it on just so you can hear the noise. There's a carbon filter in this. I'm not sure how good the carbon filter is, because normally carbon filters need replacing. However, it needs a slightly stronger fan, so I'll switch it on. I don't know how much the camera will pick that up, but so it's just power on there now. So I'll stay quiet for a second and see if you can hear the fan. That is essentially kind of how it runs. And you can see on the front here there's a touch screen. I'll zoom in a little bit. So you can see there's a touch screen on the front there as well. Right, let's switch that off. Right, so that is the printer. Yeah, kitchen towel. You'll need mountains of this stuff as well. Like the gloves, you'll go through it. It's really handy to put down just in case it kind of mops up any little bits of spills, any drips, anything like that. You'll always want to keep some handy. Other stuff that I bought myself. I bought a spray bottle. This was £1 from like B&M or something like that. There is IPA in this. It just means that when I'm cleaning things down, I can kind of spray some of the isopropyl alcohol, and it's just easy to use. And I also bought one of these kind of like Tupperware sandwich tub things, the lock and seal ones, and I've put a little bit of IPA in there as well. So what it means is once I have taken the build plate and I've taken the resin kind of print off it, I can put the build plate just in there, and just to be able to kind of clean the excess resin off that as well. What I also bought, I bought some of these baking trays, just kind of cheap ones. I think they were £2 each. I bought a couple of those. The idea being that whenever I do any work, if I'm like scraping the model off the build plate or anything like that, I just put a bit of kitchen towel in there, and it means I'm keeping anything off the actual work surface. Memory stick. You load your STL files, which is how the printer knows what to print. You load them with a memory stick. This came with the printer as well. And then to come to the wash and cure system, I'll just lock this off here, and we'll be able to have a little look at this. So what comes with this is, I'll take this lid off here. You basically get this tub here. This has got again, this has got IPA in as well. And I'm not sure if you'll be able to see, but there's basically like a little agitator, a rotator in the bottom of there. And what basically happens is this spins here and spins this around. So what you would do is you'd pop that on, you'd unclip this off. You have this basket, so you'd put your resin piece. So for example, these are one of the test prints. You put your resin piece into the basket, and then basically you would lower that into there. I won't put it in so it doesn't get wet, and then that would basically go into the bottom of the IPA. You would pop the lid back on, and then basically switch it on. In fact, if I switch the power on here, I'm not sure. I'll try and zoom in so you can see it. Get a little bit closer. And essentially what happens is you switch this, so there's a little wash symbol here. You can put it on. I'll just put it for 30 seconds and then start it up. And you might be able to see in there how it's agitating. You can imagine if this basket's inside there, and that's how it's cleaning inside there. So it means you haven't got to kind of like agitate it yourself. Everything gets done on the fly there as well. So I'll let that finish, and then I will show you what the next stage would be after you've cleaned it. You normally put it in for about 5 minutes to clean that off. So that's 2 seconds, 1. So that'll beep. That means it's done. So what you would do next is you would take this lid off again. You would lift this basket out and take this off and pop this lid back on, because with it being isopropyl alcohol, it does evaporate, so you want to keep it in a sealed container. Just move that out of the way. The next bit you would do is you then take this little disc. It's got a couple of locating pins on the bottom. You then pop it into here. You would pop your miniature onto the plate. I'll put it for a few seconds, but I won't do it for too long. You then change, let me just go out a little bit with it. You would then change the setting here to the UV cure lamp, pop it on for how long you want to do it, and then press the button, and you will see there how the plate is turning inside and you've got the UV lights inside. I'll stop that one now actually, just because we don't want to cure that one. But there we go. That is essentially, that's essentially how the process goes. And the only thing that you would need to do if you're doing more detailed miniatures, these are the test pieces that come off. These ones basically kind of are straight onto the bottom of the build plate, and you just scrape these ones off. They're ready to clean and cure. If you're doing something that is a little bit more technical like this, you'll need to have supports on these, and depending upon how you've done the supports on them, you may need to use some clippers to basically clip off the supports and stuff. Again, these come with the printer. So as you can see, it's quite straightforward. It's not as convoluted as you might think it is, but there's some kind of like safety things to take into consideration. But I'll kind of come on to sort of like a workflow process and stuff. But the big things I would say to take away from this is that don't just think the printer's cheap, I'll just get a printer, because you have to take into consideration all of the extra bits and pieces, the consumables that you'll need. The wash and cure sort of system is completely optional. You can do it just by sort of putting them in here, putting them in pickle jars, giving them a screw and stuff. You can just do it like that, and you can buy a UV lamp. You can sit them outside in the sun if you live somewhere nice and hot. Not really an option in the northeast of England, but those are basically kind of some of the step-by-step stuff. I'm very quickly just going to have a quick look in the chat here and see if there's any specific questions while I'm looking. Paul saying, did your printer not come with a silicone seal for the bottom of the cover? Mine Mars Pro did. It did, mate. It did come with a silicone seal for the bottom. However, every review I've read says that as you lift the lid off, there's not enough clearance between the tray and the side of the cover, so they keep getting dragged off and falling into the resin. So I just didn't even bother putting mine on, mate, for that reason. Christian saying you can leave the resin in the vat for a long time. Mine's been sitting there for 3 weeks, but you do have to stir it. Something I'd read said about 48 hours. I guess if I'm not going to use it very often, I'll put it back, but it's a new toy. I'm going to be wanting to use it anyway, so I plan on leaving it in there. I'll see if there's any other chats. Any other specific comments? I think that is probably pretty much it. What I'll do is I'll pop back to the main screen, the main camera there, and then I'll have a look through the chat and see if there's any specific questions. So the time it takes me to get back there, if you have any specific questions, we can always pop back and have a look at stuff. I mean, one thing I didn't really show you in any detail was this. This was the first sort of successful mini that I printed. This is there's sort of bags of detail, and this is probably, the light in here probably isn't the best. It's probably like sort of blinded out. There's a little light on the front of the camera as well, but as you can see, it's nice and clean. This all printed in one piece. It wasn't like I had to stick bits together or anything like that, and it is super crisp. So yeah, if there's anything you want to ask me, please do while I nick back to the chair there. But yeah, we'll head back over. We're back. Right. let's have a quick look. So I'm going to just dive in. I'm just going to have a look at a few of these things. Andrew Fairbanks says, dumb question. How is the smell? Is there a smell? Right, so a couple of things. One, there is definitely a smell. I can smell it. It might be the resin that I'm using is causing that smell. I have read, let me just move this down a little bit. I have read that different types of resin have different kind of smells. What I would say is it's not awful. I mean, let's talk about harmful smells and sort of not very nice smells as two separate things. I wouldn't say it was awful. It's kind of chemically, it's not like atrocious. It doesn't fill through the whole house. What I didn't show you is that there's an extractor in the ceiling as well, would have been a bathroom and stuff, or I might have shown you. So that's basically pulling kind of the majority of any kind of smells away. I close the door. It's not like it's kind of wafting through the house. It's not like everybody can smell it. My wife's got quite a sort of sensitive sort of sense of smell. She said it's not kind of like, it's not causing any problems anywhere else in the house. As for harmful smells, I guess there's a lot of information that says it's not great for your health. There's also some other that said it's not that dangerous. So I guess you have to research it for yourself and take it and understand for yourself. If you're not in an area that is well ventilated, if you're in an enclosed sort of confined space for long periods of time, sort of like when I'm in there, I kind of go in, I set the printer away, and then I come out, I close the door, I leave the extraction on, and I leave the room. So it's not like I am sitting working in that room. If you've got a printer on the desk sitting next to you in an office or in a spare room or kind of in the garage or wherever you're working, if you've got the printer on the desk next to you, you might notice more of a kind of like a nasty smell, and you might not want to either sit next to it, or you might want to breathe there, sort of have some kind of respirator. But you certainly want to have ventilation in the room. Open a window, open a door, something like that. Catan says, yes, there's a strong resin smell, kind of like strong varnish. I'll be honest, the IPA actually smells stronger. When I open the tub of IPA, that actually smells stronger than the resin. What I would say is, though, if there are resins that don't smell, it doesn't mean that because it's not smelly, it's less harmful. Like that, the two don't go hand in hand. So take any precautions, really. Tiny Wargame says, fumes can be strong, but you get used to them. As always, have adequate ventilation. Yeah, I mean, I noticed them. If anybody says they don't smell, it must be to do with certain types of resin, but it's kind of faint. It's not obnoxious. It's not like you kind of walk in and go, whoa, it's really bad or anything like that. But I do have some ventilation in there, but it's noticeable. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. Yeah, Catan says you also get the smell of your cleaning solvent. The cleaning solvent for me is actually a stronger smell. Christian's saying they dropped it for the Pro 2. There were issues with it falling off. Yeah, you do get the seal with it, but because it always falls off, I didn't even bother putting it on, mate. John Ashley says, is there a reason the cover of that colour of clear plastic? I think the reason that they're coloured, and I could be completely wrong with this, I think the reason that they're coloured is it stops any UV light getting through to the actual resin in the bath. So for me, it's not an issue. It's inside a kind of like a cupboard, if you like. It's out of the way. There's no direct sunlight in there. But if you had it like on a desk, if I had it on a desk in my office here, and I've got the curtains open, there's sunlight coming through. If you didn't have a filtered cover on it, you're starting to cure the resin inside the bath. From what I've read and from my research, that's basically what I think. Gareth Lewis says, one of the videos I watched suggested a plastic pickle tub for washing the prints. They come with a sort of cage. Yeah, you can do that as well, mate. All I would say is the more you handle stuff, the more well, one, it takes time. So if you're standing there kind of like sloshing it about, it's time that you're not doing something else. And the more you kind of sloshing it about, the more chance there is of splashing kind of chemicals around and kind of making a bit of a mess. For me, the reason I bought the wash and cure station was, I think it was £115, I think. I would have had to buy pickle tubs. I would have had to buy some kind of UV system. I would have had to try and set up some kind of contraption, be it like a nail varnish thing, or I would have had to kind of get like a UV lamp in a box. And there's all sorts of ways you can do it. For me personally, I just felt the ease of use, the convenience of it, The fact that it's a purpose-made thing was worth it for me personally. Like I said at the start, this is my money. I spent it myself. Nobody sent me it. I just think that actually for ease of process, from kind of putting resin in to getting a miniature out of the end or getting a product out of the end that you can then go and paint or display or whatever, I think for the money, I like what I bought. Yeah, Catan's saying about the covering block and that. Johnson's got a fry basket. Shaggy says, put the lid back on. Put the lid back on. I don't know what we're talking about now. The other thing as well is it's actually got a lid sensor, so you can't set the UV light away while you've got the lid off as well. Christian says the Mercury looks like a better build than the Anycubic one that I've got. The curing vibrates the models of the plate when it rotates. To be honest, mate, I'd been looking at the Anycubic printers as well, and I saw the wash and cure for the Anycubic. I didn't realise Elegoo did one till I was kind of looking online. I think that the Anycubic one might be a little bit cheaper, but at the time I think I just decided to kind of get all the same stuff together. Steve says, have you tried a water washable resin yet? I've heard good things. I've not tried it yet, mate. I've literally bought that one kind of resin. I've heard that it's a little bit easier to clean, but to be honest, I would still have to buy sort of like alcohol and stuff for other bits and pieces. And I've heard if you're doing solid prints, it works pretty well. If you're hollowing them out, if you're doing bigger prints, sometimes cracks a little bit, the water resin. But that's just second-hand information. I've not tried it for myself yet. Steve says, did the printer and the cleaner come separately? Yeah, they do, mate. I'll tell you exactly how much I paid for them. I paid for them all myself. The printer itself, I paid £280 for it from Amazon. It came on next day with Prime delivery. The water and the wash and cure system was £115. And then I bought things like the nitrile gloves. I bought the resin. I bought what else did I get? I had to get an extension lead, a power cable. I had to get, what was it? There was something else I ordered as well. Oh, filter papers as well. I ordered. All in all the bits and pieces, everything I bought came to, I think it was like £498. So let's say £500, and then I probably spent like another £10 on the baking trays, some kitchen towel, and the little plastic tub as well for washing the build plate. So it's probably cost me about £510 all total for everything that's in there. The desk kind of thing, I built out of spare bits of wood that I had in my garage and things. So it's not cheap, I wouldn't say. It's Tiny War Games, thank you very much for the donation. Says good luck on your 3D journey. Thank you very much. The printers are inexpensive now. I mean, if you think about where they were in the past, the printers have really come down in price. So it's an affordable and accessible kind of hobby, if you like, or an accessible kind of tool. It's just that you must not forget that you have a lot of consumables to keep buying. Resin, whilst it's come down in price, I think I paid about £32, something like that, for 1 litre of resin, or 1,000 grams of resin, as it might be. And when you put it into the software, I'll show you the software and stuff in a bit. When you put your model into the software, that little miniature that I printed off, it said that it would cost me 15 pence worth of resin. So it doesn't cost much to make individual kind of things, but obviously you can't buy 15 pence worth of resin. You need to buy a bottle of the stuff. So it goes a long way, but there's like 30 odd pound a bottle, if you like. A bottle does go a long way, but it's always worth having a spare on hand, that kind of stuff. Nitrile gloves are expensive at the moment because we're in the middle of a global pandemic, so anything where people are kind of like protecting their hands and sort of cleaning with stuff, those kind of things go up in price as well. Spiderlords said that the support is the learning curve, to be honest. I've done loads of research again on the support and all that kind of stuff. I feel pretty confident. I'm not quick at it, but I feel confident that I know what I'm doing. I know how to there's a couple of different processes to be able to do them. And I think people say that if you get into 3D printing, you're getting into another hobby. And I would liken 3D printing in a very loose way. I would liken it to kind of buying an airbrush. So you don't have to buy an airbrush. You can quite happily use spray cans. You can quite happily paint by hand. In the same way with 3D printing, you don't have to kind of buy a 3D printer. You can just go to the shop and you can buy minis. If there's certain files you want, you can there's places who will print the files for you. You don't have to buy a 3D printer. However, if you want it to be a hobby, it can be. There's a whole world out there to explore. Sort of, you can even sculpt your own stuff. But if you just want to use it like a tool, like an airbrush for just priming and base coating stuff, if you want to just use it to print certain things off, you can buy or you can find STL files that don't need any support at all. You can find STL files from kind of Patreons and from like Kickstarters and things that are pre-supported. Sometimes they still need a bit of tweaking, but it's a lot more straightforward. If they're pre-supported, you almost don't need to do anything. You kind of put it onto the USB file, load it into your printer, and away you go. And then you can buy files that aren't supported, and you'll have to do the support yourself. So there's different levels of accessibility to this, I would say. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month. And there is lots of different tiers and bonuses, which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.